the size of your image can affect how fast this program works on your picture. It might slow down your web browser. So there's one hiccup that you might want to be aware of. Photopea, if you open it by going to photopea.com or Photopea, P-E-A.com, it'll take you to a website that has an almost identical interface to Photoshop. And in order to open up an image, it's pretty easy. You just look through where your image is and you click on it and it opens up. I already did that now, but here's an example of opening up an image. So it'll take you directly to the image, which is pretty cool. And once you have your image open, what I did to make this was I took this layer and automatically this interface is already showing your layers and your history. So if you make a mistake, you can always go back by clicking this. And I made a copy of my layer by dragging it onto this page icon right here, and it duplicates it. And once it duplicates that layer, I go up to filter and I go to liquefy. And this is the fun part. Oh my gosh. Okay. So you can go ahead and change the size of this image. I mean, the size of this brush to anything really. And just get that all out of you. And do that too if you feel like it to your face. Well, so that's basically step one, but you have a few other options with liquefy, and there's a few other things that you can experiment with. And so you press OK, and there you go. You have your liquefied face. And the next thing that you want to do is, and this was already prepared earlier, kind of like cooking shows. What you want to do is create a masking layer for this. And with the masking layer, that erases what you have going on this current image, this current layer. And you can tell that the layer is selected because it has the dashed lines around the border of this layer. And you can see what happens if you were to move this. Now you see like a little bit of me is traveling, but not all of me. So that's the cool thing about the masking layer. But let's say that you accidentally messed up and you didn't want to mask everything. So to make something appear, you click on the brush tool right here on your tools preset, and you make sure that you have the white color chosen for your color palette, and you bring back what you didn't want to erase. But let's say you change your mind, you use the black color, and that's how you can utilize the masking tool. And in order to bring the masking tool to your layer, which is the most important step for utilizing it, you click on this square right here, and it will add a masking layer. So you can go into your edits. But let's say that you don't like the edits that you did and you already had something pre-made. That's easy enough. You just go back to your history and none of this happened and everything's perfect again. Another way to utilize the liquid tool is to use that paintbrush again and choose whatever color you would like by double clicking on the color palette square, and it'll bring up the color choices. And you can go down the spectrum and it will allow you to change the colors. you click on the area that you want, and then you take it from there. And so you can add a dot, and you see how that dot is soft around the edges. You can make the dot harder around the edges by changing the hardness of your brush by clicking on the right button or the right part of your touchpad on your laptop or on your computer. You can also change the sizes of your brush by doing this and that. So you can do that to make it a little bit harder. Let's say you don't want it to be that opaque. You can go up here to the top where it says opacity and just slide it on down and then do that. And after you add those brush marks, go back into liquify. And instead of liquefying your face like I did earlier, you liquefy this by dragging it along. Make sure that you have everything at 100 in the density. And then you should be able to start dragging however you so please. Then you press OK. And then you have your liquefied paintbrushes. And I'm going to go back to my pre-made liquefied image. So, doop, 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 doop. I'm just going to delete that. If you want to delete a layer, let's say you made a layer in real time, but you don't want to actually utilize it, you click on it and you drag it to the trash can right over here, and then it's gone. So now you don't have to worry about that popping up again and again. And you go back to your pre-made liquefy and your pre-made paint splotches. And you can, if you don't want to see your layer, you can click on these little eye marks, and that's what makes it visible and invisible. So after I made this image with the paint splotches on its own layer, I added a little blur to give it a glow to it. So in order to do that, I grabbed my blur brush and I dragged it over to this little icon next to the trash can. It's a new layer icon. And then I went into filter, and then I'm switching it up on you. I'm not going to liquefy, I'm going to blur, and I'm going to Gaussian blur. And that way you can control how much it glows. It's a little subtle. After a while, you'll definitely see that it is glowing more because I'm going to press OK. And then to add a little pop of color, I'm going to go to the blending mode up here on the layers panel, and I'm going to go to screen. And then you see that it pops a little bit more and can make it float about. And in order to move things around, you click on this move tool, and if you hover over things, you know, like with a lot of programs, it will tell you what the tool is. So this is the move tool, and the rectangle tool basically allows you to select a smaller image, and you can change up for it by right clicking and making it ellipse, and it would make it a circle. And let's say that you want to get even more precise, you can choose the lasso select and just do a selection that way. And there you have a little freestyle selection. And let's say that you have too much room on this entire image. You want to press deselect. And here's your crop tool down here. And you can make that a little bit smaller by clicking and dragging. And then after you click and drag to where you want to be, you go and you click on confirm, and then it crops you. But I didn't like it. I then went to copy this. So in order to copy all of these layers together, what I did was go to select all, and I did copy merged. And now I have all of my layers selected, and I press paste, and it goes on top of everything as one layer, which is very helpful. And I get paranoid, so I often make copies of my copy merged layer by dragging to the new layer icon like that. So after I did that, I took this image of my liquefied face that I did earlier with the liquefied tool. I copied it, and then I dragged it on top of my copy merge by clicking and dragging all the way to where I want it to be. And then I went to edit. And after I went to edit, I chose flip horizontally. And right now it has my masking layer. I'm going to delete that and show you how to do that really fast, just to get everybody caught up. And here's the mask tool. And here's the brush tool that I need to utilize. And right now it's at gray. And if it's at gray and not at a solid black, that means that most likely it won't erase completely. Like, see how the transparency isn't opaque? So you want to make sure that your color is a solid black. And right here, you see this little teeny tiny icon that's black and white. You click on that. And right now it shows white, but to reverse it, you can click on this arrow, this two-way arrow down here, and you're at a solid black. So I don't want the edge to be too harsh when I'm erasing. So I'm going to right click for my brush tool that I have chosen, and it will take it to the hardness area, and I'm going to make it a little bit softer. And then I'm going to start erasing. But the opacity is not at 100. And I know that my black color is fully black, so I need to go up here to opacity and make it 100. And there we go. And here I come. And it's that easy. Isn't that wild? What a great time. Now let's say that you want to get really into the nooks and crannies of your image because you can't see it that well. You go over here to the magnifying glass, you click in, boom, boop, 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 a couple of times, and there you are. And you get that brush tool again. You make the brush a little bit smaller, and you start to erase a little bit more because the devils are in the details. You see how it's transparent right there? I want the front of me to be visible completely, so I need to go and switch back to white to bring that back. And there we go. So just as an aside, I was thinking about what some of y'all were saying you would want for your physical powers. And Crane, you could definitely utilize the liquid tool with like the green color. You'd want it to be a new layer, of course, and could utilize that, make that green, and then just use the liquid tool to make vomit. Antifa vomit. That's so fun. We have fun. We have fun here. And also a cool thing, if you want it to be a little less airbrushy, is that all of these little icons down here, these are different types of brush tips. So you just click on a brush tip, you make sure that it's large enough for you to see, and then boom, there's another option that definitely looks closer to the texture of vomit. Okay, so I'm going to undo all of those steps and I'm going to utilize my history panel again. And we're almost away from vomit on my face. Almost. There we go. All better. And I want to zoom out, see how it's going. And you can do that by right clicking. And instead of it zooming in, choose zoom out. All right. The texture of vomit. I love arts. Excellent. I gotta keep it classy. I still look a little ghostly over there, so I'm just gonna go in a little bit more and refine that a little bit. Go back to my layer that has the masking tool and make that white and change that texture back to a regular brush tool that's at hard. Well, maybe a little bit softer now. And then I bring me back to being a ghost. And yeah, also, hopefully this won't take me to another random page. I'm used to Photoshop, so some of the shortcuts that I use on my keyboard doesn't do what I want it to do. So we're all gonna learn together right now. If Control minus will zoom me out. Here we go. Okay, fantastic. I'm not at another tab. Okay, so Control minus, that will also zoom you out. And if you want to zoom in by your by your keyboard, you press Control and then the plus button. So very nice. That was a good surprise. All right, so that's how I basically did this image. And there's a few more things that I added to it. I think I added a little bit more of a blur with the paint brush tool, which is fun. And I'll just leave it at that because you all already know how to copy your oh goodness. You already know how to copy your layer. So now I'm going to also show you how to make it seem as though there's text on top. So if you want to add text to your image, you click on the type tool right here and you click on your image and you drag it and that gives you a text area. And you type whatever you'd like to type. Do. And you can change how big that word is by clicking here on the character. And if you don't see your character window, it's right over here. You have brush, you have properties. I've never used that in my life. Don't tell my instructors. Info, I don't use that either. Paragraph, that gives you control over, paragraph. If you've used a word software, word editing software, I'm sure y'all are all aware of how to utilize that. And these are all the different types of paragraph styles and the indentions and the direction. You can make, oh, I don't know what that does, but that's exciting. Okay, so yeah, you go back to character and you just go ahead and you make it as large as you'd like, small as you'd like. You can add tracking, which is pretty nice. And that will give you space between your letters. Whoop-a-doo-doo. And if this was multiple paragraphs, you press Control C, and hopefully that works on this web browser, and Control V, and press Enter to make it a new paragraph. And with lighting, I decided to select all of the letters, and then that gives you more spacing between the separate lines. So that's what I have going on right now with the text. And once you're done with choosing your text and you realize nobody can tell what that says, the letters are too big, you just drag it to a different size. You make that tracking a little bit smaller and click on confirm. And there you have your text. So I already had some text available, and I chose fluidity. And you can decide what type of font you want by going here and choosing what type of font you'd like. Right now it's at Great Vibes. And you should be able to make it as thick as you'd like by choosing, oh, this one doesn't have other options, but other fonts would have like bold or regular, italic, bold, italic, etc., etc. You can choose it over there. You can also choose it over here on the left side, and you also have some options for your choices here as well, which is very helpful. If you want to change the text color of your image, you can click on that window up here. Unfortunately, down here, it didn't do anything for me when I was trying it out earlier today. So there you go. Now it should be green, but you have to press confirm. And now you see that it's a little bit green. But you're probably thinking to yourself, but Liz, why is there an outline? Liz, why isn't it opaque? Well, I'll tell you what's going on over here. So I have it as a blending mode of soft light, and I can make it opaque by going up to normal, and there we go. I don't like that as much. I'm going to make it soft light again. But these are a few other different options. It gets kind of funky down here. Whoa, that's fun. So once again, I'm going to go back to type tool, and let's see here if I can change the color. I guess I'm stuck with it. No, I'm not, just kidding. You click on that letter there, and after you click on the letter, you can change the color back to white and click off of it. Oh yeah, press confirm. And now back to the outline. In order to get an outline for this and a little glow around it, what I did was I went to the text layer, I right clicked, I went to blending options, which is different than blending modes, and I chose stroke, and it allowed me to make a red outline. And you can make your outline as intense as you would like, as transparent as you would like, and you can position this to be on the inside, the center, which is pointless to me, or the outside, and change the size back down, and you can change your color of that stroke to this if you wanted to, but I don't want to. So I'm going to exit out of all these options, but first I have to press X there, and then X here, and then everything's back to normal. And I'm going to delete this doobie doobie doo, because that takes up more memory on this file that's unnecessary. So we have fluidity popping off, exciting times. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you how to add the glow. So once again, you right click, make sure that it's over the T, blending options, and I went to outer glow, which also gives you the option of what color you would like, the opacity, the blend mode. So it could be like that, but I like it at soft light, so I have it at that. But you have tons of options here, which is pretty fun. And now I'm going to press OK. But I'll show you what other things can happen with all these blending options. With bevel and emboss, you can add a little bit more of a three-dimensional effect by just playing around with that. Let's see here. You can soften it up if you would like to. I think you can change the color. And that's something. Go to normal, and that's something subtle. And do that. And you can add an inner shadow with this and an inner glow as well. And you can control all of these by just clicking on the ones that you've chosen, and it'll give you all of these different options. Got satin, color overlay. Oh my goodness. Isn't Photoshop so much more fun than the real world? And you do a little drop shadow. Oh my goodness. How dangerous is that? I don't like any of it. So I'm gonna, instead of press OK, click X. And then I'm back at my pre-made design. So I did another thing with text, and I added this text. And I'm going to zoom out by pressing Control minus. And you have the definition of fluidity: smooth, elegance, or grace. And then there's another part. I'm going to delete that temporarily and drag it to drag it to the trash can. So I am going to undo deleting my mask, and then you see that, and I wanted to add a little pop to it. So I went to task and I copied my layer. I dragged it to this little icon over here. Can you all see? Oh my gosh, you can't see half of the, you can't see that. Okay, let me go and drag this remote someplace else. Okay, should be able to see a little bit better. Okay, so I clicked and I dragged over to this icon. That is the copy merge. And now I have a repeat of the text. And I realize now that you possibly were not able to see what the masking tool icon was. So I'll go and show that real right quick. I'm going to drag the masking tool that I already made, and I'm going to start again. So the masking tool is right over here, this little rectangle with the circle on the inside. And I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to go over to my brush tool. I'm going to change my brush size by going up here, or I could also right click and make sure the hardness isn't too much. It's not doing anything, so that means it's at white. And I'm going to slide this over a little bit and choose the switch arrows, which is the two-way arrows at the bottom, and click on that. Now it's back at black. And then I'm just going to start erasing a little bit. And that's basically what I did for this image. And that's basically all I, oh yeah, and I copy that text by dragging it over to that copy layer, and I made a new text layer. And after I did that, I said I wanted to add a blur to it. So made sure that the layer was selected, and I went up to filter, blur, Gaussian blur again. And it says, do you want to rasterize this? And that means that you won't be able to edit the text after you choose to do that. And that's all fine and good to me. And change the Gaussian blur to whatever radius you would like. And you press OK. And there you go. You have a little Gaussian blur. And I have the blending mode under screen to give it that glow. But you could make it anything else. And that would be just fine because this is your work that you're doing. So that's basically all that I did to make that image, and also the other images you've seen of me with my doubles. And also the same thing applies to changing up my head to different places, and I can go and show you how to do that really right quick, which is pretty fun. Let's see, I'm going to use this image of my liquefied face. Now I'm going to click and drag it to the top. And there we go. I'm going to get rid of that masking tool. I don't need it anymore because we're on to new things. So what it did to go and double my head is I went over to the lasso tool and go and I click and choose what I like. And you could go and apply this if you wanted to put a duck bill on your face like Tonks from Harry Potter, perhaps. And you go and you would have like your image of yourself, and then on another layer, an image of a duck. And you just go and you select around that duck. And after you select around the duck with the lasso tool, you press copy merge. And that will copy everything that you have selected. And then you go and you press edit, paste, and there we go. I got two heads now, and I want it to look nicer. So I'm going to look at my masking tool right over here and utilize the powers of Photoshop and the brush tool. And there you go. And that's how you become a mutant in a perfect world. No weird science experiments needed. Okay, and I'm just going to go and change that to, oh, you can't see that. Let me go and move this around a little bit. Let me go to edit again, go to transform, flip horizontally. Don't like where it's placed now. That's ridiculous. I need to be over here. That makes more sense. That feels more natural. And you just go and refine in the masking tool what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep. And that's my one trick pony set of tools in Photoshop. I guess I know a few other things. Does anybody have any other questions? Hello?
Yeah. Hey, Liz. So if you're doing the text, is there like a reason why it would make the text really, really small? Because I just popped up and tried to repeat that on my own. And when I wrote the text in the image, it was like itty bitty. Real strange. And I've maxed out everything to like try and make it big, and it's like gets all pixelated. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. So let's see here. One thing that you can check is the size of your image. Because if you have a teeny tiny image, that might be affecting it with the pixelation. And to check the size of your image, you go up here where it says image, you click on that and you check your image size. And sometimes it will just show you that you're at pixels, which isn't helpful to me. So I go to inches, and usually the default dots per an inch, it's 72. And that's a lower res, so things will be pixelated if you have like a really large image. So I usually have it at the medium, like for this example, I'm doing it at 150, but optimal printing sizes are 300 and above. So if you just do like 9 inches, 14 and 150. That should take you to a nice size. And press OK. And let's see if we can start again. Click on the toolbox, click on the image, and you drag it, and it should give you a tool size. But since I already did this earlier, I will. Oh, it already. What is going on? Okay, let me see if it. I guess because I already worked on text earlier, it already has like a pre-made size for this. So let me make it tiny, see what happens if I press confirm. And let me start again. Okay, there we go. And let's see here. I have the size down here. Oh yeah, if you have it at really tiny, it also might, I'm not sure. I think that the max that it has preset is 150, but you can also type in like 500, 5,000, 5 million. I think 500 should do you all right with size. So try that out and give me a shot if that doesn't help. Let me try 500, press enter and type some stuff. And it's not showing up because it's underneath things. If you can't see your text, it might be underneath an image from before. So you just drag it to the top of your layer box. And after that is done, you should be able to see the font size a little bit larger. Did that help at all, Andrew?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. Troubleshooting in real time. And if you don't want to keep that text there, you just drag it to the trash can down here over there. And to save, you go to export as a JPEG. And I mean, that's what I'm going to save it as. But if you wanted to take this to a computer that has Photoshop, you can also save it as a PSD. And already it's automatically in the format of a PSD because you're using multiple layers. I'm going to save it as a JPEG and frame it. And want to make sure that those inches aren't acting wild. That's pretty good. I don't want the quality to be at 70 because then it will print out all wonky. And you save it and you press save. You choose where you want it to be saved. Save that file or open it with Photoshop if you have Photoshop, but that would be silly if you had Photoshop. And you can rename it something else. And make sure you don't have a semicolon in it. And you press save in your selected folder, and there you go. And it's also saved as a PSD by pressing save PSD, and automatically, whew, that's a big file. And press that, then you save that, and then it goes back over here. And no, I don't want to replace that. And that should be just fine. And you should be good to go. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming to my TED Talk.